Hey everyone, welcome to the channel. Today we're diving into King Arthur Legends Rise and I'm going to help you make the most of your heroes. Building and investing in your characters is no quick or easy task. It takes time, effort, and most importantly, resources. You don't want to waste any of that on heroes who might seem strong early on, but eventually fall off as you progress. So in this video, I've put together a tier list to give you a better idea of which heroes are worth prioritizing from the start, and which ones might not be as valuable in the long run. It's all about setting you up for success and saving you some headaches down the road. Now, as you might know, not all heroes are created equal in King Arthur Legends Rise, and some of them are going to give you a lot more value than others in the early and mid stages of the game. In this video, we'll go over which heroes are the real game changers right from the beginning, so you can focus your resources on those that will actually carry you through the tougher stages. The goal here is to avoid investing in characters that, while cool, might not have the staying power you need for later levels. Stick around and I'll make sure you don't make any mistakes when it comes to building your team. I'm quickly moving on to the video and I'm ranking heroes in King Arthur Legends Rise. Before we start, if you enjoy these types of tier list videos, don't forget to like the video and subscribe. Enjoy watching.
My friends, only 0.1% of viewers subscribe. If you like this type of content, please do not forget to subscribe to the channel. Thank you in advance for your support.
The heroes in this tier are, in order from top left to bottom right, Clarison, Florentius, and Tristan. Let's talk about some of the heroes in King Arthur Legends Rise that might make you think twice before investing too much into them. Now, don't get me wrong, they can have their moments, but overall, they're just not cutting it in the grand scheme of things. First up, we have Clarison. The thing about Clarison is she can take a while to really get rolling. Her crit rolling mechanic is fun once it gets going, but the catch is that it takes time. And in the early game, when you're struggling to get the right gear, she can feel like a bit of a liability. She's really good when she hits her stride, but that's not always guaranteed. As the game progresses and crit resistance starts becoming more common, Clarison's effectiveness starts to wane. So yeah, while she can be a beast later on, don't expect her to carry you through those early stages. Then there's Florentius. He's one of those heroes who looks good on paper, but doesn't always deliver. Sure, his ability to apply status effects can be super useful, think debuffs that really mess with enemies, but here's the problem, his basic attack has a ridiculously low proc chance. If you're relying on him to consistently deliver those effects, you might be left high and dry. And honestly, if you want those status effects to hit reliably, there are other heroes like Lot or Morgan that do it much better. Florentius can be a bit of a gamble, and if you're looking for consistency, he might not be the best bet. Now, let's move on to Tristan. This guy is an interesting one because his attack scaling relies on attack speed, which is kind of funky. At first glance, he seems pretty easy to build, and he can be helpful against the shields that require multiple hits to break. But honestly, his damage output is just underwhelming. In the early game, he struggles because you don't have the right gear to really make him shine. Later on, when you have better gear, you'll realize that there are heroes who just deal way more damage, leaving Tristan in the dust. He's nice to have around in certain situations, but don't invest too much into him unless you've got a good reason. So, here's the takeaway. Clarison, Florentius, and Tristan all have potential, but they also have some pretty serious drawbacks. Clarison can be a slow burn, Florentius needs more consistency, and Tristan just doesn't scale well in the long run. All three can be fun to use in the right scenarios, but if you're looking for heroes who can consistently perform, you might want to look elsewhere. You don't want to get stuck investing too much in these heroes only to realize that they're holding you back later on. The heroes in this tier are, in order from top left to bottom right, Sigrun, Gillian, Lancelot, and Lot. Let's talk about some of the C tier heroes in King Arthur Legends Rise. These are the ones who may not always steal the show, but can still play a useful role in the right team. We're diving into Sigrun, Gillian, Lancelot, and Lot, so get comfy and let's see what these heroes bring to the table. First up, we have Sigrun. She's a bit of a mixed bag, kind of like a bridge between a tank and a support hero. She can take a hit, heal up allies, or even taunt enemies depending on what relic you choose for her. But here's the catch. Her gear setup is crucial. If you don't get her relics and gear right, she could end up in over her head trying to do too much and leaving herself vulnerable. So, while she can be a lifesaver, a little attention to detail is needed to make sure she doesn't put herself in a bad spot. Next, there's Gillian. And let me tell you, she's a solid choice for healing. Her relics give her strong healing capabilities, and on top of that, she can reduce the enemy's gauge and avoid being attacked herself. That makes her a great pick for almost any team setup. Whether you're focusing on damage or defense, Gillian's versatility shines. She might not do anything flashy, but she gets the job done and keeps your team alive when you need it most. Then we have Lancelot, who's all about single target damage with some nice DOT, damage over time, scaling. Now, he's not going to blow you away with insane damage numbers, but the good thing about Lancelot is his versatility. You can fit him into a lot of different modes and still find value in his kit. Plus, his leader skill, giving a 10% reduction in damage taken in Hero Adv dungeon, is perfect for keeping your team sturdy in tough situations. Finally, there's Lot. He's a bit of a hybrid hero, dealing damage while also suppressing enemy skills. He's not exactly a powerhouse in terms of raw damage, but what makes him stand out is his ability to control the battlefield by shutting down enemy abilities. That's a big deal in many battles, especially if you don't have other heroes who can manage enemy skills. But Lot isn't a true support hero either, so you'll need a dedicated support character in your team to complement him. So, while these heroes might not be at the top of the tier list, they definitely have their moments when used correctly. Sigrun's tanky versatility, Gillian's solid healing, Lancelot's ability to chip away at enemies, and Lot's skill suppression all bring something unique to the table. With the right setup and strategy, you can make them work for you, even if they aren't the flashiest picks in the game. In conclusion, C-tier heroes may not have the standout power of their S-tier counterparts, but they're not to be underestimated. Sometimes, it's about finding the right synergy with your team and using their strengths to fill gaps. Keep experimenting, and who knows, these underdogs might just surprise you. The heroes in this tier are, in order from top left to bottom right, Gawain, Bedivere, Ina, and Sergius. Alright, let's get into it. If you're deep into King Arthur Legends Rise and you've been checking out some of the B-tier heroes, you're probably wondering if they're worth investing in. Well, today we're diving into some of the B-tier characters, and trust me, there's a lot to unpack. These heroes might not make it into your endgame team, but they can still pack a punch when used right. Let's kick things off with Gawain. Now, Gawain, he's got this awesome AoE damage that can really wreak some havoc with his damage over time abilities. That's the good stuff. But here's the catch, his whole kit relies on certain conditions like day/heat status to get the most out of him, and sometimes that can feel a bit limiting. His relics are another issue, as they all seem a bit too similar. It almost feels like you're just choosing the one with the biggest number on it rather than getting to adapt to the situation at hand. Gawain's fun for AoE damage, but if you're looking for versatility, you might find yourself a bit frustrated. Next up, we've got Bedivere. Now, Bedivere is all about attacking single targets and buffing up his own critical strike rate. Sounds cool, right? Well, yeah, but it's also kind of selfish. His kit doesn't offer much for your team, so he's really a character that shines when you've invested heavily in him. At the start though, he's going to feel pretty underwhelming. You might not have the gear to make him work, and that's going to make him feel like a tough hero to get into. But if you can give him the investment he needs, Bedivere can definitely start pulling his weight. Then we have Ina, who might just be one of the more interesting B-tier heroes. Her big draw is abnormal status immunity, which can be a game changer. If you're facing off against some status-heavy enemies, she's the hero you want in your corner. Plus, she has other buffs that make her a solid pick for a lot of situations. But here's the thing, her relics don't really give you that plug-and-play vibe. You've got to be thoughtful about which one you equip, because not all of them are going to work in every battle. So she's a bit of a challenge to use effectively, but if you can get it right, she's definitely worth having around. And now let's talk about Sergius. This guy's a game changer for your team, not because of his raw damage or buffs, but because he can reduce your passive cooldown and charge up your team's battery gauge. That's huge. He's the kind of hero that can turn the tide of battle just by giving your other characters the energy they need. However, if your team is a bit lackluster, Sergius isn't going to do magic by himself, but with the right team backing him up, he can absolutely skyrocket your effectiveness. He's the ultimate plug-and-play hero that will support any team you build, making him a super versatile pick. Overall, these B-tier heroes are all about finding the right balance. Gawain, Bedivere, Ina, and Sergius each have their strengths and weaknesses, but with the right strategy, they can still be a great addition to your roster. Gawain might be a bit limited, Bedivere needs investment, Ina is situational but powerful, and Sergius can boost your whole team's performance if you've got the right heroes to support him. It's all about finding that perfect synergy, and who knows, these heroes might surprise you when you least expect it. The heroes in this tier are, in order from top left to bottom right, Guinevere, Claudius, and Morgan. Let's talk about 3 heroes in King Arthur Legends Rise who truly bring something special to the table. Heroes who make your team feel unstoppable when used correctly. Now you might be thinking, what makes these characters stand out? Well, let me tell you, it's not just about their stats, it's about their versatility and how they can change the course of a battle with a well-timed move, and in this game, that's the kind of advantage that wins you the match. First up, we have Guinevere, and trust me, she's a game changer. You know, it's not just about her ability to deal damage or her high chance of stripping buffs off enemies. What really sets her apart is her shields. Seriously, not many heroes can keep your team as safe and sound as she does. Whether you're facing a tough boss or grinding through the endless waves of enemies, Guinevere's shields allow you to survive longer, and that's crucial when you're trying to keep your heroes alive in the thick of battle. It's like having a tank and a healer in one. What's not to love? Then we've got Claudius, who's all about keeping the enemy on their toes. Not only does she dish out damage, but she also has an insane ability to suppress the enemy's gauge, constantly slowing them down. This might not sound like much, but trust me, when you're trying to take control of a match and make sure the enemy can't do much, this suppression becomes invaluable. Her constant pressure on the enemy means they'll struggle to unleash their strongest moves, and you'll be racking up the damage. Claudius shines in pretty much any mode you throw her into, from PvE to PvP, so she's one of those heroes you can always rely on. Next on the list is Morgan, and while she might not always be the best damage dealer, her utility makes her an excellent choice for any team. Morgan can sleep single targets, and if you time it right, you can completely disrupt an enemy's flow. This is especially useful in PvE, where you can use her to buy time or disrupt enemies that rely heavily on their skills. And let's not forget her potential in PvP. Though that might depend on the setup. While she might not deal the most damage in later stages, her ability to control the battlefield and bring that much needed disruption can be a huge game changer, especially when you're setting up that perfect combo. What makes these heroes even better is how they complement each other. Think about it, Guinevere's shields keeping everyone alive, Claudius reducing the enemy's ability to do anything, and Morgan stopping them dead in their tracks with a well-placed sleep. Put them together, and you've got a team that can not only survive but dominate. It's like they were made to work together, each covering the other's weaknesses and playing to their strengths. So, if you're looking to create a squad that's hard to beat and tough to bring down, these heroes are definitely the ones you want in your roster. Guinevere's protection, Claudius's gauge suppression, and Morgan's control can make your team feel like a well-oiled machine, ready to take on anything King Arthur Legends Rise throws at you. They're flexible, powerful, and most importantly, incredibly fun to play with. Trust me, once you get the hang of them, they'll become the core of your team. The heroes in this tier are, in order from top left to bottom right, Merlin. Alright, let's talk about a hero that absolutely steals the show in King Arthur Legends Rise, Merlin. I mean, this guy is just on another level. Not only does he dish out some serious damage, but his relics are where things get really wild. You can either use them to buff your team, give yourself those sweet immunities, or even make your enemies wish they never crossed your path with some nasty debuffs. Seriously, Merlin is the kind of hero who can turn the tide of battle all on his own, and once you get him, you're going to want to make sure he's built right for maximum impact. But here's the real kicker. Merlin isn't just about hitting hard. He's got this versatility that makes him perfect for almost any situation. Whether you need some defensive support, a damage dealer, or someone who can control the battlefield, Merlin's got you covered. So, if you're lucky enough to pull him, don't hesitate to build him up and make him one of your core heroes. Trust me, he's worth every resource you throw at him. The video ends here. See you in another video. Don't forget to subscribe.